Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching Greenwave TV, alternative media television. The Boston bombing cover-up, in my opinion, will be bigger than September 11th. It will be bigger than the largest terror attack that we ever saw domestically here on American soil. Now tomorrow, Glenn Beck, he said on his Friday radio show, said that he would be releasing damning evidence if the FBI and the mainstream media didn't come forward with it by Monday. Now we can only speculate what it is he's going to talk about, and quite frankly, I think we've already covered it in the slew of reports that we've completed over the weekend here. Linking the FBI has now officially admitted to the Wall Street Journal, ABC News, among many other sources, that they were in fact linked to one of the suspects, the older brother Tamerlan. They had interviewed him in 2011. They had been tracking him for years. That tells us one of two things. Either the FBI is grossly incompetent and failed as a domestic terror watch unit to prevent terrorism on American streets and didn't do their job and should be completely overturned as an organization, or the more damning, the even more damning, they're directly tied in and involved with this manufactured cover-up and this terror plot that resulted in 3 people killed and dozens of people dismembered, blood splattered all over the streets of Boston. Now, in the meantime, the Boston people are very excited about the show of force and the militarization of their city, which took place over the past several days, which was the result of one terrorist on the loose. I want you to think about that for a minute. One terrorist was on the loose, and the entire city of Boston had virtually declared martial law with tanks, special forces, SWAT, CIA, FBI, local police departments, fire departments, etc. An entire city totally ripped apart. Constitutional rights and civil liberties tossed to the side. We've got the video footage I played for you earlier of innocent Americans being illegally searched and seized, people coming out of their houses with their hands up, violently, aggressively pushed around by these special force units without a warrant, which again is illegal search and seizure. The Fourth Amendment says that they have to go get a warrant before they can just, run into your house Gestapo style, like Nazi Germany. I mean, that's basically what we saw over the weekend, which fundamentally makes you think about how successful this terror attack actually was and how incredibly vulnerable the United States of America truly is. Because if one person on the loose could shut down an entire metropolitan city, imagine what a coordinated terrorist attack could do. Imagine 12 different terrorists and 12 different bombs going off and detonating across 12 major cities at once. You would have a complete lockdown and a complete militarization and police state as a result of that. It would completely turn America into a war zone. It would look like Nazi Germany during World War II, during Hitler's reign. So that's the power that these terrorists have. Whether or not you believe it to be a manufactured bomb plot, directly linked to it or not, doesn't even really matter in my opinion. That is something that we need to address almost entirely on its own. So as these developments occur, we of course will be reporting this to you live, and I'll be doing any more reports I think are relevant in the coming hours. But I'll be very interested to see what the link is that Glenn Beck says he has. We do know offhand that he had suggested that there's some kind of Saudi Arabian relationship to a specific terrorist or terrorist organization with possibly potentially Chechen ties. I don't want to elaborate on that or to dig into that too much without really seeing the evidence first. But what we do know is, for all you critics out there that said, how could it be that you could see that this was a staged terror attack from the very beginning? And literally I came out with a video within minutes that the bombs went off in Boston. The reason that we knew that and we had a perception and a gut feeling around this being a staged event from the very beginning is because there's incredible motive and there's an incredible reason why the Obama administration would want to orchestrate this terror plot and orchestrate this event. Of course, there is a massive gun legislation bill on the table that just got shot down by the Senate, didn't get the 60 votes needed. Now, senators like Lindsey Graham, who I saw earlier today, are saying that the FBI, we shouldn't blame them. We should give them the benefit of the doubt, even though we know they just lied to us and they're linked to one of the terror suspects. It's now a fact, even though they tried to cover it up at first, and then the alternative media and AMTV broke that to you, and then they had to sidestep that and change their opinion. We caught them in a lie. You see, when they give you different variations of a story, that's how you know somebody's lying. In our example, we've just told you from the very beginning this is a staged terror attack, and have not once changed the story throughout the entire 10, 12 videos that we put out. But senators like Lindsey Graham, tyranny senators like him, are saying the FBI doesn't have enough power, that might be one of the reasons they were unable to stop this terrorist activity. So this all goes along with, again, strengthening this legislation, not for just gun control, but outlawing black powder, any of these materials that the federal government says that we're not supposed to have our hands on, which includes, our right to self-defense, the Second Amendment, automatic weapons, things that we would need to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. Of course, Second Amendment says we have the right to form a well-regulated militia in order to defend ourselves from that threat, but they just want to get rid of it. So again, there's incredible motive here, which is why, again, organizations like ours and myself personally told you straight up from the get-go that this was a staged terror attack. And now we have compounding evidence and corroborating evidence to support that claim. So this isn't conspiracy theory, this is just the truth. And you can see it on the faces of people like Glenn Beck or Alex Jones or myself. It's gotten to the point where, do we trust our government? Of course not. Why do you think that there's a growing secessionist movement here in the United States of America today? The American people, a growing minority of them, which soon to be, in my opinion, will be the majority, does not trust their government. I mean, look, if we know for a fact, which we know today, that the FBI and the federal government is orchestrating these bomb plots and murdering innocent Americans, do you understand the gravity of that? Do you understand how dangerous that information is? How upfront and hard-hitting and in-your-face it is? It doesn't get any bigger than that. And that is why I said from the get-go, in my opinion, as a story and as we've seen it develop, will be, and I believe to be now, is bigger than September 11th. It is bigger than any cover-up or conspiracy that, in my opinion, has ever been reported on in recent history, because the FBI is directly linked to this terrorist attack, which means that the federal government is directly linked to it as well, because they do not operate in a vacuum. The FBI, the CIA, and the federal government all play a role and have played an integral role in these types of terrorist acts before. Again, not a conspiracy theory. The 1993 World Trade Center bombing, conversations were recorded against the FBI's knowledge from a gentleman by the name of Salim, which proved, and there's corroborating evidence and reports from the LA Times and New York Times have done extensive research on this, proving this is fact, not conspiracy, that the World Trade Center bombing was actually an FBI-induced terrorist act. We also had the underwear bomber here not too recently, which came out later when the FBI tried to cover it up, that this was an FBI foiled bomb plot. So the FBI does stage these events, and as we have learned in history, it actually results in the murder of innocent Americans a lot of the time. So there is blood on the hands of the FBI. It's why I think local authorities or some kind of third-party watchdog, if that even exists, should be storming FBI offices all over the country right now, should relieve the FBI and the CIA from their post, from investigating the Boston bombing attack. Now they expect us to believe, after fabricating a story with multiple lies and then changing that story multiple times, differing suspects, that now the suspect that it was caught has throat wounds, so he can't talk even though he got out of the boat by his own volition, using his own body strength, and didn't even look injured at the time. They changed the suspects on us twice. One of them is now being sent overseas and deported as a matter of national security. Wolf Blitzer, CNN have made really the greatest faux pas that I can think of in recent history in terms of reporting outright lies. He should be taken off the air immediately, or he should resign. CNN should shut down as a mainstream media organization. It's that bad. But they don't even have to do that, because the alternative media has taken over. We're no longer the alternative media. We are the media. That's how important it is. You are the media. You are the watchdog, America. And for those of you tuning in and sending us tips to our tip line around the world, I want to thank you so much. Because this story is so big, because this is literally the biggest story I've reported on in the history of our grassroots organization, AMTV, and due to the danger level of it, because this is incredibly damning and dangerous information, you have my permission to take the host of videos we just put out on the Boston bombing and the cover-up and the conspiracy. We have about 10, 12 plus videos out. You have my permission to mirror it, to download it, to cloud it, to save it to your hard drives, to rebroadcast it, put it up on your YouTube channel. Just save it and get it out there and make sure that this information gets distributed so many places and is saved on so many hard drives that it can never be covered up. And you see, that's the problem with the mainstream media, and it's the problem that the government is finding itself having at this given point of history in 2013, is this technology is making it impossible for them to cover up these types of events. So again, let me reemphasize the gravity of what I'm telling you here. The FBI has admitted a direct link to the older brother Tamerlan and to this terrorist activity. Now they're the ones investigating it, expecting us to believe that somehow it's linked to a 12-person terror cell now, a 12-person terror network. Again, we were the first to bring this to you from day one, from the moment these bombs went off. And now, as more corroborating evidence has come out from the Wall Street Journal, CBS, the Land Destroyer Blogspot report that I reported on yesterday, now we have Glenn Beck. He's going to be making some kind of major statement tomorrow. He says could be the biggest statement of his career, which I believe, in my personal opinion, I can't put words into his mouth, I think is going to put a focus and provide even more damning evidence, and will show the American people clearly that it is the FBI that is connected, directly linked, and responsible for the murder of 3 innocent Americans, an 8-year-old boy, the dismemberment of dozens of people, and just the way that they've instilled terror around the entire country, and it put an entire American city, Boston, a great city, on lockdown, militarized it, and now on the behest of all this, they will be using this to manufacture really the largest gun control, totalitarian police state legislation that we have ever seen in the history of America. Again, let me re-emphasize, this is bigger than September 11th, bigger than anything we have ever seen. Anything that any alternative media organization or mainstream outlet has ever reported on in recent history. You have my permission to burn, cloud, re-upload, redistribute all the content related to this Boston bombing that our organization has put up. Again, I want to thank you, all of you, for your tremendous courage, what you're doing, your tremendous support. Those of you that continue to support our cause, that donate to what we do so that we can continue to put these reports out. Godspeed. I love this country. I'm an American. I love America. I will die for her if need be. I made a decision a long time ago that this is my country. I'm not leaving. I'm not going to flee the United States. I would much rather stay here and fight the machine through the media, through AM TV, and if need be, if it gets to that point where this country is turned and transformed into a situation where we are the new Nazi Germany, then God forbid there's thousands and millions of Americans that would fight for her to keep our freedom and to keep our liberty, to protect our family and our friends and our streets and our towns, protect our churches, and protect each and every American's freedom. Which many before us have died for and have shed blood so that I could have an opportunity to get on camera with you today and really have a Paul Revere moment with you. A Paul Revere moment with our audience that is telling you the redcoats are coming. But they're not just coming, they're already here. America has been invaded. The FBI is dirty. Our government is corrupt. They've exhibited and have blatantly shown and are connected to criminal activity in this case. This is bigger than anything we've ever reported on. And again, the magnitude of this is major, it is extreme, and it is also, to be blunt with you, incredibly dangerous. And that's why I want to ask all of you to get our material out everywhere, in every place possible that you can. Redistribute it 1,000,000+ times so that this story does not die, and that it forces further investigation, not just by AM TV and the alternative media television network, but by you, but by the American people and freedom and liberty loving, not just Americans, but people all over the world. Thanks again for your tremendous support. As always, I'm Christopher Green, hard-hitting and in your face. I just deliver the Daily Wave. Get this out everywhere. Please support our sponsors. Peace.